winners and whiners, and David joins me again. We're going to try to get you a update every week on the XFL, sort of recap what happened the week before, talk about some stuff that's happening in the league. David joins me here. You were in Vegas last week, so we didn't get to do this last week on Friday, so great to have you back. How was Vegas?
It was good. It was good. I didn't do as great that weekend as I wanted to, but it was a good time. It was pretty busy and chaotic, but glad to be back.
So last week we had our first Thursday night football game of the XFL season. That was the Battlehawks and the Sea Dragons. Unfortunately, uh, the Sea Dragons are the Las Vegas Raiders of the XFL. They have twice gotten out to a lead and then blown it late in the game to lose. They are 0-2. Uh, they move the ball well on offense. They just can't hold a lead at the end of a game. The Battlehawks came back on them, beat them 20-18. I split on that game. I had Seattle -3.5 at home and the under, and I hit the under, but obviously missed on the point spread. Then on Saturday, the first game, the Defenders played the Vipers. The most notable thing about this game was how crappy the stadium is that they play in Vegas. It is awful. It was basically a condemned minor league baseball stadium that was renowned for having some of the worst turf in minor league baseball. It's not well configured for football. It only fits about 9,000 people. It only like 6,000 people showed up for the game. It was a mess. The weather was horrible. It's outdoors. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Vegas in the winter is freezing.
It was really cold this week.
It's
It was
cold.
like in the 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, Vegas is because it's the desert, and the desert gets really cold in the winter, especially when the wind blows. There's nothing to stop it. Vegas can get very high winds, and when it's cold coming off the desert, it knifes right through you. And people at that game had to be freezing. It was raining, and the wind was blowing. Ugh.
Yeah.
Terrible game too. Vipers were leading 6-0 at halftime. Not exactly scintillating football. And then in the second half, the defenders just went, forget it. We can't throw the ball. They put in their running quarterback. They pulled D'Eriq King and they put in. No, they replaced. Um, what is his name? It's Tao. It's not Tua. Anyway, I can't pronounce his name for the life
Tamu,
of me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That guy. They replaced him with the running quarterback, D'Eriq King, and they rattled off more than 200 yards rushing and 18 unanswered points to put the game away. We had the Defenders +3 as the road dogs, and they won outright. So there's that. The Brahmas beat up on the Guardians. The Guardians stink. They are terrible. Um, I love their coach, though, man. Terrell Buckley is great to have mic'd up on the sidelines. My favorite XFL moment of the year so far is they've got a 3rd and long, and he pulls the receiver from the game. Receiver comes over. Why you put me out on 3rd down, coach? He looks at him and he goes, shut the F up! I'm a head coach, not you. You ain't no head coach. Go sit down. I just love it. Oh, my God. And then
I
he does
think
a
I
then
think
he
one of
does
my favorite moments was Seattle when they had a 3rd and 1 and didn't convert, and then they did a ridiculous pass play, and then on a 4th and 1 they didn't convert. And as the quarterback's running off the field, he's like, "Can we not run the ball?"
yeah. Also, um, Buckley, during and after the game in interviews, backed the bus up, beep, 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 over the whole freaking team and ran over them. And then he backed the. We need guys that can play. We need guys that want to play. It was wow, wow. I believe that was also the game um, where you had one of the players that was an offensive lineman trying to call plays in the huddle. Anyway, it wasn't much of a game. The Brahmas offense running game struggled again. QB Jack Cohn wasn't spectacular but efficient. But San Antonio's defense had 10 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and an interception, and a blocked punt that got turned into a touchdown. So that's really where they ran away with it. At Brahmas, we had Brahmas -3, and we got an easy cover there. And then in what was supposed to be the highlight game of the week, Houston Roughnecks, Arlington Renegades, ended up Roughnecks 23, Renegades 14. Um, if teams cannot turn the ball over when they play Houston, they might win. But everybody who's played them so far has fumbled, interception, muffed kick, interception. I mean, they've just turned the ball over. Houston isn't great on offense, 4.2 yards per play on average, but Arlington was getting 2.3. So, and
Yeah.
I believe neither
Houston
team
had
could
some
get,
issues turning the ball over too that kept
yeah,
them in that game.
I don't think either team averaged even 3 yards per rush. Neither of those teams has a running game, really.
Yeah.
But Silvers, the guy for the Roughnecks, did better than Pitt on the Renegades by not turning the ball over multiple times. And, well, they ended up winning. I had no official bet on that game. So I went 1-1, 1-0, 1-0 for 3-1 on my bets on the weekend XFL. I believe I was 2-1 first weekend and 3-1 this. So that puts me at 5-2 at about 75%, 72% maybe on the season. So there we are. Anything you have to say about the XFL so far?
Well, I think that the Houston Roughnecks seem to be the team that significantly has a home field advantage. They seem to draw better crowds than some of these other teams, and that's what I would say as far as whether or not you'd wonder if there's a home field advantage. I know a lot of these teams practice together, but Houston seems to be the team that has a substantial home field advantage so far. I think Houston and DC so far look like the best teams to me. And even though you've got the Sea Dragons and Vipers who are 0-2, the Guardians are by far the worst team. I think that the Sea Dragons and Vipers still have potential, but there's no hope for the Guardians. The Guardians are by far the worst team.
The Sea Dragons and Vipers play each other this weekend, so something's got to give there. Somebody's got to win. Well, no. I don't know what the XFL rules are on overtime, actually. So I don't know if there could be a tie. Maybe there could be. And they could both be 0-2-1. We'll see. And still be winless. But you're right on. Statistically, according to Football Outsiders, the DC Defenders are the best team in the league, and the Roughnecks are number 2. The Battlehawks aren't far behind. And surprisingly, the Sea Dragons are next because the Sea Dragons are 0-2, but they're better than their record indicates. They had 2 tough late losses. They had leads in both games. I think they're a better team than they've shown, and I agree with you completely. Orlando is the worst team. And
Yeah.
the coach basically calling out the entire team, saying they're not putting in any effort, that he needs guys that can play. I don't know how that's going to play. I know for me, when I was an athlete, I didn't do well with coaches that were negative. Coaches that would yell at me, scream at me, berate me. I just, F you. You know what I mean? I did not. I've never put up with that. I'm just not good at it. That's not the kind of coach I did well with. So I don't know what's going on in that locker room, or who knows. But that's a mess right there.
Yeah, and I think the Sea Dragons are really that 0-2 team, like you said, like the Raiders that could be 2-0. Take nothing away from the Battlehawks. They're 2-0, but
They could be
a
0
couple
2.
plays away from 0-2, exactly.
And they were supposed to have the best home field advantage, and they're not really selling many tickets to their games, which is surprising because in the previous XFL iteration, they drew big crowds, but they're not this season for some reason.
I'm not sure if with Houston it's because the XFL did so well last time, or because people in Houston love football so much, and after the Texans didn't give them much to cheer about. Maybe that's why they're in the XFL.
By the way, the ratings overall were down 50% week 2 from week 1. Now, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that you played a Thursday night game, which was weird. And I don't know how many people saw that. And also, there were things going on this last weekend and the weekend before. There was basically nothing but the NBA All Star game.
Right. And you got a lot of this is starting to be the time. There's a lot of college basketball last week. This starting to be the time when people are starting to tune into college basketball who haven't really paid attention all year. So that could be another thing with the Saturday slate. There was a lot of games. Like you said, the NBA was back. They picked the best week to start up.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
nothing
And
else
then
really going
this
on.
weekend, you have a Saturday night game, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. And then on Sunday, here on the West Coast, we get football all day because there's a 10 a.m., a 1 o'clock, and a 5. So
Yeah.
it's XFL all day long, which is what I'm going to be watching. By the way, I'm looking forward to some UFC action this weekend. So that's I'm going to have 3 or 4 screens going because I do really like a good involuntary beating. Uh, I do enjoy those. Uh, so we'll see how. And if for me for UFC and boxing, both of which I'm fans of, I like the early prelims better than the later fights because in the early prelims you get some real mismatches with knockouts and you get a lot of wild action because there are people trying to make a name for themselves and break into the sport. Whereas the later bouts, they're really professionals. They've got a lot at stake, and a lot of times those fights are a little less exciting. But early prelims, tune in afternoon on ESPN. It'll be a lot of fun.
Let me ask you this, honest, like with the XFL so far, I know it's a small sample size, but have you been impressed with the quality of the football? Like, do you find it entertaining so far?
Um, Overall, the quality of play isn't great, but a lot of the games have had wild endings and a lot of exciting finishes. And then I also like the speed of play. I tell you one thing that the XFL is doing much better than the NFL is when they have reviews, they go quick
Yeah.
and you're able to listen to the whole exchange between the referees. And so I think that is really superior to the NFL. They you can there's no the referee goes under a hood somewhere and there's nothing going on, right?
Yeah.
There's still action because you get to hear the referees talking to each other. And I
I
like that. I
agree.
like that transparency.
I think hearing it does help a lot too, because even when there's time going by, it's like, well, at least I know what's going on. I can hear the conversation.
Right.
I have an idea of when this is going to be over.
Right.
So,
Not just, some guy standing under a hood somewhere and everybody's sitting around with their thumb, where. All right, David, we'll do this again next week. We'll recap for you what was going on in and around the XFL for the week. And there's been a couple really great stories, by the way, that I'm going to cover in a couple of my premium picks that I didn't cover here. My video pick is going to be Guardians at Renegades. So go look for that. There's some really good information I'll be sharing in that free video. And I've got 3 premium picks for the weekend. By the way, who are we brought to by today?
no house advantage. So there's a promo code WNW. No house advantage. You can play golf, soccer, basketball, daily fantasy. The promo code WNW gets yourself a first time deposit bonus of up to $100.
See why I have him do the promos? He's so good at it. All right, David, thanks a lot. I'm Loud Esmond for Winners and Winers, trying to make you a better